senior entertainment writers at Variety. And if you couldn't already hear backstage, there's a lot of team spirit going on tonight. So I hope you're prepared to, well, we already heard you a little bit. You were doing that whole laugh, cry, all the full range of emotions. But truly, hope you are all here to enjoy this very special conversation. You're one of the first audiences to see this series, Chad Powers. Yes, give yourselves a round of applause. So without further ado, let's bring out the people you're really here for, starting out with Wynn Everett. Followed by Quentin Plair. Next up we have Frankie A. Rodriguez. Followed by Mattfeld. And last, but certainly not least, one of our executive producers, co-creators, and stars of this series, Glen Powell. I appreciated the energy. I was hoping we could get a little bit more like College Game Day vibes, but you guys did amazing. Congratulations, all of you. Again, this is one of the first audiences to see this series. Glen, being as big of a college football fan as you are, how does it feel to get to kind of live out your college football dreams in a different way with this series?
Everybody here is a giant college football fan. That was kind of like a prerequisite as we were casting people. It's like, if you're not already a fan of college football, it's hard to really understand and catch up and understand the nuance of things. And that was the best part, is on the weekends while we were shooting in Atlanta, we'd go out and everybody'd support each other's teams, sometimes, at sports bars and whatnot. But it's really the love language of this entire cast.
Actually, should we go down the line? I was thinking it's Monday Night Football. They always have the great intros. So can everyone just shout out basically your gang sign, your college football team for a moment?
Hook 'em.
Yeah! USC, fight on. YU doesn't have football.
We can just go with the Wildcats, if you know.
Yeah.
It's all about the U.
Auburn, any Auburn people in here? Auburn University, War Eagle, anyone? Yeah, one.
And come on, can anybody get a Go Dogs? Georgia football here. All right, thank you. Oh, hey, listen, I'm representing for co-creator Michael Waldron tonight. I'm sitting in for him. Glen's basically partner in crime here. Actually, I do want to talk to you a little bit about that, because this series did initially start with Eli's Places and this funny, amazing skit, but you guys decided to take it into a different direction with this show. How did you and Michael come together to give us Chad Powers?
Well, it was a very funny opportunity, as Omaha kind of sent out the bat signal to the town that they wanted to do something with Chad Powers, the rights to Chad Powers. And I think Waldron and I were probably one of the only people in Hollywood, as far as writers go, that actually knew what Chad Powers was. And so, when CA said, "Do you guys know what this is?" And we were like, "Of course." And so I found out the only other person that raised their hand was Michael, who's a buddy of mine. And we bonded over college football. So we talked about what it could look like and kind of the different ways into the show. And we heard that a lot of other people were kind of going with a much more earnest take. And I told Michael, I was like, I think the secret sauce to watching that Eli's Places segment is the fact that it's Eli under that mask. The fact that there's a lie at the center of that episode that makes it really special. And if we can keep that kernel of that lie and really explore it to its fullest, you actually have something really dynamic and interesting. And the more that we talked about it, the more you started going, wow, there's something really tragic. What's the most tragic character that would put on a mask? And it started kind of getting really, Shakespearean? I don't know. It's it just started feeling really nuanced and deep. And then when you figured out how it could actually work, the only way that show works, because it has such a ridiculous entry point, is every single cast member has to be grounded in reality. You get one sort of buy-in for the entire show. So every cast member has to be perfect and bulletproof. And so as we were casting the show, the fact that we got our pick of this insane cast that just brings that not only hilarity but like grounds all that comedy in a way that makes the entire conceit work. And if anybody is tonally off, it just all falls apart. So like I gotta say, going to work with this gang every day was just such a treat. I don't think I could have had a better time with you guys. It was unbelievable.
Frankie, yes, please. Frankie, I want to go to you first with this idea because Danny is one of the, or rather on this, he is the only person who knows that Chad is actually Russ under there. What do you think it is about that relationship that was so interesting for you? This idea that, Danny's getting something out of this too.
Yeah, I think the fun in the story between those two is those two characters probably wouldn't hang out ever in life. So when you put them in these crazy situations where they both have to help each other out, it's like this really fun dynamic that you get to play.
What was it for you and Glenn to build that dynamic? Because you guys have such a great rhythm together as you guys are delivering these lines.
Just like having fun. I think that was like the first thing. I was like, oh wait, this is gonna be really fun. And just like going off of that, I think that like set the tone.
Yeah, Frankie's game. He's always down. Like, however crazy, like, I think was our first scene the dirt dauber spray
Yeah.
scene. That was the first scene that we wrote. That was the first scene I wrote the pilot, and that was always a scene that sort of like showed that, hey, we're gonna take this to a pretty weird place, and you just went off of it. Every single time I threw something weird at him, he was right there. He's a very smart actor, and very, very quick. So he just added a flavor to the show. Another role that we, writing it, didn't know if we were gonna be able to cast it, and when we saw, him, it was just, thank God.
A compliment is better than being on moi, let me just say. Perry, over to you with Ricky.
Oh boy.
What was it about her? Because, obviously there are so many different layers to this idea of, she's finally getting this opportunity on the football team, but her dad is the coach. And then now she then ends up bonding with this player who's definitely a little offbeat. What was it about Ricky that really interested you?
Yeah, Ricky is actually one of the hardest characters I've ever had to play. I mean, I think like finding a balance between, there's a comedic, there's just a lot of, it was very challenging, but I think I was like most attracted to the football aspect, honestly. Like football's been a huge part of my life too, and this was one of the first times football and the industry have merged for me. And so getting to be outside in the sun, on the grass with these guys was like a dream role.
I mean, seriously, represent, because all the biggest football fans I know in my life are all the women. So
Really?
So the opportunity to have this character really explore what it's like to navigate that world. Yes, obviously there's the fear of feeling like a Nepo baby also in it. But yeah, to be able to represent for the women who are out there, slowly making strides in our business, well, rather in their business. What is that?
I think Taylor Swift's helping. I feel like
it's literally you and Taylor.
I feel like she and I would really hit it off.
Have you guys had real conversations?
I'm working on it. I'm like working my way to her.
We'll just make sure she sees the series, and
I'm hoping
she'll get
because of Travis she'll watch, and then we'll connect.
But can she draw up her own plays yet?
I don't know. I think she's probably like, we're gonna talk offense. Sure.
Glenn, for you, what was it about that dynamic between Chad and Ricky that was really interesting?
You already got me thinking about season 2 cameos.
I can read
T
out.
Swift coming in hot. About this dynamic?
Yeah.
I gotta say, this was the linchpin to everything. We knew that, the one thing that we love about this show is, making a football movie is a very hard thing, and so what you get the opportunity. This is not something that belongs in that format, and the one thing that I was really excited about is that exploring this in a longer way, like really getting to spend time with all these characters and exploring it, and that how long can you really draw this lie out? But at the center of that, as I said, we always wanted this like Bull Durham dynamic, something that sort of that had like someone who felt authentic to the world, that really was intelligent, but was also not in on the lie, which is a hard thing to play, not being dumb, about it, but somebody who authentically, rooted for this guy, really felt for this guy, but was also, there's so much nuance to it. I mean, honestly, Perry, I remember when we first saw your tape, and I was like, because...
By the way, I was currently playing a heroin addict.
Yeah.
On something else, and then auditioned for this.
Chad's track marks are like a weird thing to see in a...
That is not a season 3 storyline.
Yeah. No, we put up with less. We got our sobriety coach on set. I guess unnecessary. The thing that I think is just so crucial that is, you are a female in a very male-dominated world, and in addition to that, the optics of people watching the show, which is that there's a lot, like, we go into the show knowing there's a lot of haters, right? And I knew that, playing a quarterback, like I was going, I don't want to do this. Like everybody's a Monday morning quarterback in this thing. Everybody, is watching top tier athletes all the time. And so, you know what the gauntlet that you're walking into. But, for Perry especially, that character was a thing that we saw a lot of people for. And I was like, it's just not authentic. It's just not authentic. And even though they're great actors, like, you just don't buy this one thing. And Perry is every bit the real deal. Every bit the real deal. And to have someone, you really are. To have someone who, can walk the walk and talk the talk, but also add, the romantic element to this show, which is, a very odd there's, a very odd thing happening. But it's a lot to carry, and if you don't have an intelligent actor at the center of that who can analyze those things, talk it out, it was a real team sport, and again, the hardest role in the show to play by far.
Wow. It's very nice.
Well, talking about authenticity, Quentin, I'm coming down to you because you know college football just a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
Tell the people.
Yeah, I mean, I just played football in college. I wasn't very good or anything like that, but I did go through all the practices. I was in all the meetings, all that. So yeah.
You just had to become an actor. We understand. But that idea of playing Coach Bird, and that is, the coaching aspect and the actual team sports aspect of the show, as Glenn said, has to be right. People have to believe that this is, we're talking real football here. What was it that interested you about that character?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's it exactly. Like Glenn said, football and this industry in particular don't go together too often, right? And some of my favorite movies are always sports movies. Like whenever I need a lift, that's what I go to watch, because they always have everything. They have heart, they have comedy, they have pain, loss, suffering, and Bird had all those things. And for me, some of my favorite coaches were always the hard asses, the guys that would cuss you out, tell you to run, all those things, because I feel like they also love the most, and to be able to portray that, especially when I actually first got the audition, the guy was a lot older, and so I was like, oh, well, fuck it, I'm not gonna get this anyway. Just have fun with it and just kind of create people that had been my coaches in the past. This creation was kind of just a mix of all these coaches that I had loved in the past. And then, I don't know, they saw something, so, went my way.
I'm so nosy. Who was the first coach you thought
of? My offensive coordinator at North Carolina, John Shoup. Him, and then my weight training coach, Coach C. I think he's at East Carolina now. Coach Connors. He used to do this thing where we'd be running in the off season, running in the off season, and he would always look at us. He'd be like, "All right, guys, time to get a couple of heartbeats." That's the most meathead way to say we're gonna run. You know what I mean? Time to get some heartbeats. And so I was starting to play with the voice and the stance and just the manliness that these dudes had, and but also I don't know, I feel like locker rooms are some of the funniest places on earth, in these film rooms or some of the funniest places on earth. So it being a comedy made a ton of sense for me. Because it's not a bunch of serious guys. Like, these guys are goofy. And so, yeah, I just kind of based it off them, and then like took a thing here and there from, just from my past.
Can we real quick give a shout to, he's not here, but Steve's on as well.
Yes.
We're talking coaches. We gotta talk about that dynamic.
Well, I know that Zahn studied under Stoops at Kentucky, and I mean, look, Zahn's one of our great actors. I mean, that's like I've been watching that guy like my whole life, and as a kid, Saving Silverman was like one of my favorites. But the guy just always puts up great work, and even when he's just absolutely hysterical, like it's always grounded in something unbelievably accurate and special. And that's another thing, he's a real football fan, and he gets it to pull off a coach. It's a hard thing to pull off, but he was also just a great team leader in terms of just his spirit and energy, just like never dips. He's got enthusiasm, just really, leads people on and off,
Well, speaking of enthusiasm, when you have some of the funniest deliveries across this series, I mean, this character, she just gets to do a little bit of everything. What was it for you that made this exciting?
Oh my goodness. So I am from Atlanta. I was born and raised in Atlanta. I went to New York, and then I came to LA. And I was here for 8 years. And then my husband and I decided we really wanted to raise our babies near family. So we moved back to Atlanta in 2018. And I've been just trucking along in Atlanta, working down there. And then I get this script called Chad Powers from actually my Los Angeles agency. And I went to Auburn University. I have worked with the SEC, and it was like, it just was a dream read. And I laughed out loud, and I thought, oh my gosh, like what a dream to stay in Atlanta, to be home, and to work on something this fun and this funny, and with this talented group of writers. I mean, what Glenn and Michael put on the page was so unusual. And it was a miracle that it all worked out. We all know these things do not work. I mean, it's just being an actor. This is crazy business. It's tough, and it just was a miracle that it happened to be in Atlanta, be about football and the SEC that I love so much, and a group of people that I feel so lucky to be with.
What of your SEC knowledge did you want to bring to this? Because I think for the few of us in this room who have been to these games, we've been around these organizations, we've maybe met some of these boosters. We understand the intensity of this world.
Oh, it's so intense. So I did a SEC commercial campaign in 2016. And they interviewed, it was just a commercial here. I was in Los Angeles. I went down, I drove to Santa Monica. It was in one of those buildings in Santa Monica. And they said, all right, where'd you go to school? I said, I went to Auburn University. Okay, can you tell us, it was just a bunch of questions. Then they called me back, and it was on a Zoom. I mean, this was, 2016. So all the people were in the South. And they said, and I was just, very much normal, feeling great. And they said, okay, Wynn, tell us what it means to be a part of the SEC, really. And y'all, I don't know what happened, but I just stood there, and all of a sudden tears just started streaming down my face. And I said, I met some really wonderful people in the SEC. And I tried to get through it, and I don't know what happened, but they said that's the reason you booked the campaign, is because we felt a heartbeat of what this place is. And then Michael Waldron and Glen Powell find the heartbeat again, and it's amazing. It's a really special,
As the says, it just means more.
I do want to throw in, a lot of other people play football too, okay?
We already brought one over to the SEC. Y'all can stay over there in the ACC. Do your thing.
I'm number 2 in the nation right now, just throw that out there.
Glenn, actually, we were as we're talking about the voice, I do want to talk to you a little bit about the Chad voice. And also the rough.
It's actually my real voice. That's I just
If y'all all saw Hitman. We know that you can do that kind of, you can do the voices, you can do the prosthetics, you can do the comedy. How did you find your way into these two guys?
Well,
Yeah, talk about a hard role, by the way. Two people.
It's like a weird one because like Waldron and I were obviously, in the trenches, building this thing. And I think there was like a moment where we looked at each other and he's like, I haven't heard the voice. And I was like, I haven't come up with the voice. And like we were kind of coming down to the wire on it. And we kind of knew generally, like what we wanted to go for. Like the conceit was always there, which is like a guy that thought he was good at improv, but was really not. And like what voice supports that? So Suzanne Solby, who was my dialect coach on Hitman, I basically said, I want you to just give me some, like throw a bunch of accents at me in terms of like West Virginia, Kentucky, just give me some like backwoods stuff. And basically, this is not an accent that is from any one place. I just threw the kitchen sink of like what like came up with. I was like, this sounds weird. I like this, and so I just kind of like sonically just kind of like Vitamixed the shit out of some of these accents and threw it into one place, and that's sort of Chad. So you're not gonna find he's not a real person, so it doesn't really matter. I can kind of do whatever, but that was sort of the entry point. Is I wanted it to feel like I was shooting from the hip, which it very much was.
I was gonna make a joke about how devastated I was to find out this wasn't a biopic, but I then really dug deep to play Chad Powers. But that actually is true, because as we were talking about the kind of fun and the humor of this, and you brought this up towards the beginning, this is also a very emotional character study of this guy who has, as we see, his life ended, as he didn't cross the goal line, drops the ball at the 1 yard line, and has to find a way to maybe become a new person. So I guess I would love to hear a little bit about that, about the idea of the arc that you captured with Chad.
Yeah, I think one of the crazy things that, we've all seen, which is when people are sort of taken out of the ecosystem, so to speak, when they've made a mistake, it's a very interesting thing to watch because your face literally becomes poisonous. And it doesn't matter, obviously Russ Holiday made a mistake, but he has been defined by that mistake, and he has to live with that mistake, and everyone reminds him of it. And his great love was football. It was being on that field, and he can't say I'm sorry. He can't say I'm sorry to the world. He can't say I'm sorry to himself. And so a guy like that, I don't know if there's anybody in the world that wouldn't, wish for a new face. Not in like Los Angeles, Beverly Hills terms. I'm talking about a metaphorical face, but like the idea of like what we wouldn't give for a second chance. And I think that's really what I felt like this show is really about, is a guy that gets to forge a new path with a new face, doing the thing that he loved. And he's obviously doing the immature thing rather than trying to do it with his own face. But that's what makes this show really wonderful, in my opinion. Is it's a great identity exploration of a new identity with an old passion.
And what is so smart about that too is it's a search for identity and finding who you are for each of these characters. Everyone is also coming into their own as well.
One of the real things that Waldron and I talked about at the very beginning was every single character in Chad Powers is throwing a Hail Mary pass. Everybody is on the last play of the national championship. Everybody knows that their day in the sun, the clock is ticking, their time of relevance is running out. And they are sort of willing to do whatever it takes to hold on to this thing. And that's one of the things that we love. There's like a bit of desperation to everyone. Everybody loves this world, and they see that they're one wrong move away from losing all of it. So it sort of fortifies the kind of pressure cooker of this lie across all of it.
I would love for all of you to kind of tease a little bit of what's to come, because the audience here, of course, has only seen the first episode. I will remind you all that episodes 1 and 2 will actually be on Hulu, beginning on September 30th, and then weekly after that. But yes, we love a weekly rollout. Building anticipation. What can you kind of tease about what's to come for Ricky and what you're excited for these audiences to see? Because there are some also like fun pop culture references and all kinds of things still too.
I think the show is like, it's funny in ways you don't expect. It's emotional in ways you don't expect. It's moving in ways you don't expect. I mean, I was near tears more times than I expected to be. I could have been the score. I don't know. It was just like, I think I'm surprised at the world that was created based off of this skit and based off of this spoof. That, I mean, by the end, I think you are rooting for this world, you know, so intensely. And I think I'm so excited, hopefully, for audiences to really fall in love and believe and root for these people at South Georgia. Because I mean, I love them to death.
Frankie, what about for you?
It's a lot of madness and chaos, I think. That's kind of like what I loved about playing this character. I was like, oh wait, this is fun. But what's to come, there's a lot of plot twists that even I didn't see coming. And watching it back, I was like, oh wait, I don't know if I really clocked that or that. So I think just like it's a fun watch, so yeah.
I will ask you one more question about
Okay.
playing Whiskers, because how did you do in that suit every day?
It's hot. It is so hot. But it's when you watch it back, you're like, oh, I see why Chad is having a conversation with Whiskers on camera, because it looks insane. But no, I had a good time playing a twerking catfish. It doesn't get better than that.
We need more twerking catfish in our life. It's pretty iconic. Quentin, what about for you?
Yeah, that was the dead of summer too. Like this guy.
So hot.
Yeah, a lot more gum chewing from Bird. Yeah, I damn near broke my jaw on this. But no, and I wanted to second something that Glenn was saying. As an athlete, there's a point where you realize you're never gonna play again. And part of you dies. And I've told this to people before, and they're like, oh, no, it's not that dramatic. I'm like, no, it is that dramatic. There is nothing that gets that adrenaline going, that competitive juice going. Like even when I'm a very competitive person, so like, you know, going out for these auditions, like, oh yeah, I get to beat somebody or lose. But it's not the same thing. There's something about, you know, a man in front of you that you're like, you cannot stop me. That's just really this beautiful thing. And through the show, I kind of got like a little bit of that back. Being with the guys was so incredible. Like oh my God, I really want everybody to just understand what these players that we had out there were doing. Like they made everything look so authentic. When I would talk to Michael, I would be like, that's truly Ole Miss's jersey. That's truly, who else did we play? Tennessee, yeah, like that's really the real them. We're really, I don't know if I can say the next one, but like in things that are real and authentic. And I know how the SEC is. Like they don't give out their creed for anything. So the fact that we got these real SEC, real ESPN, real I mean, I think what's coming is a lot of authenticity, and a lot of just fun, light, heartfelt, good entertainment that I think people need, especially in these days. So yeah.
Go ahead, Adam.
Well, I would say, I mean, and I'll drop some truth right now, but I am one of these people that watch football, and it doesn't, like, if my team loses, I don't go into a funk. Like, I am totally okay. I'm very kind of even-keeled personality-wise, where this is everything to these people. And I grew up with these people. This is my family. If Georgia lost, it was a sad weekend. And so it's like we said, there's just the stakes in the show, which seem comical because is it a game? It's really just a game. But it's not. It's really not. And so, especially for Trisha, you know, y'all, there's a lot on the line. And it's just so fun to watch everybody, just the stakes. Every episode, I just loved watching, like Glenn said, the pressure cooker.
It's a game, but it's a metaphor.